Hey guys, Santino here with Cleveland Beer Snobs, and today we're at Sibling Revelry Brewery with head brewmaster Pete Valez. How's it going, Pete?
Going great.
Awesome. We're going to get to know him a little bit today, ask a few questions, and just have fun. So, my first question for you is going to be, do people ever get the name of the brewery wrong?
All the time. We see it on packing slips, we see it on envelopes. It's, Revelry, it's rivalry, some people just don't even know the word revelry. But more often than not, people are like, wow, that's a really unique name. So yeah, it is a mouthful, but it is unique. It stands out. So it's worked for us.
Can you tell us a little bit about where the name Sibling Revelry comes from?
Yeah, so the owners of the brewery are two sets of brothers who are cousins, and this is the first business that they've collaborated together on. They have their own, they're entrepreneurs, they have other businesses, but they work together on this one, so that's where the name comes from.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
How about you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
What do you want to know?
Where did it all start? How did you get into this world?
So I started, like a lot of people do, just working in a brew pub, and I just kind of was intrigued by what went on back there, and made friends with the brewer, and then I would spend my days off like helping them out, doing the unfun things like hauling grain or milling in, stuff like that. And it really just kind of piqued an interest. It's been drinking beer for a little while up to that point, and it's just one of those things you don't really think about it as an actual career path till you meet somebody who does it.
Oh.
So from there, I went to school for it. Did a postgraduate degree in brewing and distilling, and then came back actually to the same brew pub where I was working as a brewer, and that was 17 years ago. And then from there, I've worked in brew pubs, other production breweries. I was selling hops for a little over 4 years, and did some consulting for a little bit. And then, when this opportunity came across my desk, it was just too good to pass up. So,
sure. I'm really intrigued by the what you mentioned about your education in brewing and distilling. Where did you go to school?
I went to a school called Harriet Watt. It's in Edinburgh, Scotland. It's kind of like a technical school, similar to like Virginia Tech or something like that. Lots of sciences and stuff like that. And brewing and distilling had been taught there since like 1904, I want to say. And it's always been part of the life sciences department. So, there's a handful of schools you can go to around the world. A lot of people in the States go to the American Brewers Guild, which is based out of Vermont, or UC Davis in California. I would have done either one of them, but this one I could actually get federal loans to go do. So I'm still paying for those. But, it made it possible for me to do it when I was, at the time I was a restaurant manager. I was just like, I need to do this. So
How was your time there?
It was amazing.
I can only imagine.
It's the only, it's not really a regret, but it's just, you're in this other place where, you're really, I had a really unique opportunity to be there, but I was a poor student, so I couldn't really do that much. But I did get to see a lot of very cool things that, if I had gone to school anywhere else, I wouldn't have seen. So it was definitely
What was
worth
your
it.
favorite site there?
Oh, that's tough. We had a couple of field trips, legit field trips up to the Highlands of Scotland, and just really, it's all but wilderness out there. It's unbelievably beautiful. So
Can only imagine. Wow. Now, are you an Ohio native?
I'm not, actually. My wife is. So my wife was born and raised in Canton, and we met in college, got back in touch quite a bit after college, and then when we started our family, we were living in the New York City area, and it was always in the plans to get back closer to family, and it's been invaluable to us, to be this close to family while we're raising our kids. So
Sure.
That's why we're here.
What's your absolute favorite part about your job, or just what you do in general?
It might sound cliche, but really just seeing people enjoy beer. I have a team of 3 brewers that work for me, and they all work their asses off, and it's just really satisfying when you see a bar full of people, or you see somebody when I'm out at the grocery store, you see somebody buying our beer. It's just that's probably the most satisfying thing.
Do you have a favorite beer? Like, I'll put it this way: do you have an all-time favorite beer and a current favorite beer?
I mean, as far as what I make, or from here?
Give us your favorite beer that you make, and then your favorite in general.
I mean, my favorite beer is always the new one. So right now it's the Oktoberfest. But over the course of the year, I probably drink the most of the lager, just because it's it's easy to drink. But a famous brewer once said, I don't know if this is in print anywhere, but he's like, all the beers are my kids, and I'm always pissed at one of them. So, there's always something I'd love to change about something over there. But I'm really happy with the Oktoberfest this year. The recipe hasn't changed very much, but tweaks here and there. I think this year really kind of did well with it. And then the lager is just a good go-to.
Gotcha. Now, like, writers have style that you can pick out when you're reading their book. Is there a way to pick out the style of a brewer in tasting their beer?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I don't really know what it is.
Do you have a style, or like ingredients that you like to use more than others?
Well, in my experience, brewers are creatures of habit. So a lot of people, it's like what they come up using as far as ingredients and whatever, and that holds true with me. I mean, I definitely have fanned out a little bit, but when it comes down to my base ingredients, I pretty much am using the same malt that I started using 17 years ago. As far as the style, I mean, you can look at the brewery. Lots of breweries. Some breweries are known for hops. Fathead's obviously known for big hoppy beers. Great Lakes known for more traditional beers. I don't know what that's about the style of the brewer, because I know these guys, and I think that we have fun brewing really anything.
So what is the atmosphere like between the local breweries? I mean, everybody is technically a competitor, but I would imagine maybe there's some collaborative nature to it.
Yeah, I mean, this industry, for as long as I've been involved, it has been very collaborative. Yes, we're all competitors. We're all competing for the same spot on the shelves, but there's no real cutthroat things there. The community, at least in Cleveland, is relatively small. I mean, it's not tiny, but it's we all know each other. We all go to each other's bars, and I mean, if I have a beer from somebody's brewery, I'll send them a text like, "Hey, great job on that." We have guest beers here, and it just, I don't know. I think that's kind of fun. A few years ago when we were submitting beers to GABF, I had a bet with another brewer in town that we were both sending the same beer. He's like, all right, well, if one of us wins and the other one doesn't, then the other one has to wear a T-shirt that says something that's just at least safe for work. So sadly, neither one of us won that year. But but you get the idea. We're all friends. We trade tips, we trade ingredients. If somebody's in a pinch and I have something that they need, I'm more than happy to give it to them.
Right. So in the last couple of years, we've seen Seltzer kind of blow up in the market. Does Sibling Revelry have Seltzer?
Yeah, we have 4 of them, right? 4 of them. So, we were not blind to that trend, and it's something that is, if we can pick up a little bit market share or volume by making it, great.
Sure. Do you think that the Seltzer thing is going to last, or do you think it's just a fad?
I mean, it'll last insofar as it'll always be around. I think that just like anything, there's going to be a boom and then a leveling out. And, I've heard chatter on both sides that it's not stopping and that it is leveling out. But no, I mean, it's pretty far from a fad. It's around. But the explosiveness of it, I believe, will even out.
Sure. Now, I know I never really expected myself to be enjoying Seltzer, so that kind of begs the question, what do you think the future of brewing looks like?
Well, I mean, if you look at it in a long enough timeline, 100 years ago, everybody was drinking lager. Before that, everybody was drinking beer in pewter steins because they didn't want to look at it. So as technologies change, as people's tastes change, you're going to get different things out there in the market. Right now, Seltzer kind of headlines that segment of the market called lifestyle beverages. That could be a lifestyle beverage. It has electrolytes in it. So I think the future of brewing is just like the future of really any other industry. As tastes change, the industry is going to change. But at the end of the day, beer in this form has been around for 1,000 years. I don't see it going anywhere.
Is there like a dark horse in the world of beer that you'd like to see make it to the forefront, like something that's underappreciated?
Yeah, I think every brewer would answer that with, just a nice traditionally brewed Pilsner. Because, the Pilsner style beer is pretty broad, but, like a true, what I would call a true Pilsner, all malt, lots of hops. Every brewer out there, especially in Cleveland, I've had a Pilsner from every single brewery around here, and they all do it really, really well. But, we're still, going 10 years on now on IPA being king, and that hasn't changed. So, my opinion on that is just that you can change one thing in an IPA, the hop variety, and make a completely different beer, and that keeps people interested, because it's a different choice. Two Pilsners brewed traditionally by two different breweries are going to taste kind of the same, So people like choice. People like to have variety, and that's why I think, hop-forward beers have been so popular.
What is the proper way to taste and sample a beer?
Quite simply, lightest to darkest. If you've got a Pilsner over here and a coffee stout over here, if you start with a coffee stout, you're not going to taste anything over here. So, you want to layer that with the alcohol concentration too, because if you start with something that, even if it's a relatively light beer but a lot of booze in it, it might kind of alter your palate going forward. So,
how many ounces should you be tasting at once?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish here.
Well, so in some of our previous videos, we tasted beers, on camera and gave our opinions on them, but we sort of just drank the entire beer. So by the end of it, everything was tasting pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't go more than 4 or 5 ounces of a beer.
That makes sense. That's probably a good call. Okay, so what do you do when you're not working? What are your hobbies? What is the man outside of the brewery like?
Well, I have 2 kids, so that occupies all of my time. 7 and 4. So, really just, I like being home with my family, and just when we get the opportunity to go out and like go to the national park or something, or even just going to the pool, just hanging out with my family is really what it's all about.
That's awesome. What's better than that?
Not much.
So if you were presented with a blind taste test, how well would you be able to identify random beers as opposed to your average civilian?
Well, I think if you're, if you tell me we're going to put 4 beers in front of you and it's these 4, if you can identify them, I think I'd be all right at it. But I was actually put to a similar test. And I'm actually embarrassed to admit this, but when I was brewing in Myrtle Beach, they did a blind taste test with a bunch of light lagers, and it was like Busch Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, and Ice House. And at the time in Myrtle Beach, there was only 4 breweries, so all 4 brewers, we tasted individually, and we were asked which one we liked the best. Somehow I liked Ice House the best. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I think that, when you're in this industry as a career, you kind of make it part of your job to, taste beers outside of your own world. And, you develop a palate, just like people develop an ear or anything, or an eye for art. It's the same thing with beer. And, so yeah, I think I do all right.
Is there like a sommelier for beer?
Yeah. There's a program called the Cicerone program. I don't know how many levels there are. There's quite a bit, but it's kind of modeled after the sommelier program.
Okay. Now you mentioned brewing in Myrtle Beach. That kind of made me wonder if the geography of a brewery, wherever it's located, does the geography impact the flavor profiles and just kind of the way the brewery goes about making their beers?
Maybe, but geography, more importantly, dictates the kind of beer you make for your clientele. When I was brewing down there, I had Hefeweizen, which is a naturally cloudy beer, and it didn't really sell that much, even though it was lighter and fruity. But down there, they had a saying that if it ain't clear, it ain't beer, and people were actually afraid of it. So, I think. Yeah, but I think to answer your question though, as far as like water chemistry and whatnot, yes, that does impact. I mean, water is the biggest ingredient in your beer, so that is going to impact the outcome. But there's a lot of ways you can augment that to get consistent results all the time.
So I'm sure there are some recipes that are definitely tried and true that you leave alone, but do you ever go in and tweak recipes or augment them?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. Sometimes, we have to do it based on availability of ingredients, but those are usually very minor changes. There's other times where I'm just not, sucked out of my mind about this particular beer, so I want to, change it a little bit. So, it might be changing the dry hop of the IPA. It might be, backing out one kind of malt in favor for another. I would say it's relatively common. It's certainly pretty far from every batch, but it does happen, And the nice thing about making beer in this kind of volume is that, it's easy to kind of slowly put changes through without anybody noticing.
Thanks so much, Brewmaster Pete. It's
Thanks
been
for
great.
coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been great getting to know you and learning more about the brewing process. We're actually going to take a tour now, so to our audience out there, you can tune in to another video in the future to check out what I'm about to see. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.